Hello, fellow yogis and yoginis. I know a lot of you have been seeing some of my posts about how excited I am about things that are coming up for my business, just for helping people out and things in the yoga community. And many of us have had the conversation about working in yoga studios that have kind of this limited mindset. I was very fortunate this summer to connect with this incredible woman, Laura Brown. Many of you might know her from the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. And this is actually how I connected with her, was doing my radio interview for the Flagstaff Yoga Festival.
Oh, right, yeah.
And her enthusiasm and her just energy. You guys can't even imagine how much energy this woman has and brings to the table. I guess sucked me in more than anything else. And she's a life changer, and I'm really excited to be here talking with her. So hello, Miss Laura Brown.
Hey, Miss Aminda Courtwright. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Oh, my God, that show was like... we were on the phone for like 3 hours, weren't we, when we did that radio show?
Exactly, when we started talking. So you have to understand, those of you who know me know that one of my favorite sayings is, help, I'm talking and I can't shut up. And I think Laura has some similar energy.
Yeah.
Sometimes when two people like that get together, it's not a good fit. But instead, Laura and I just sort of took it from there, and it was like long lost friends.
Right.
There's no other way to describe it. It was, within minutes, I knew this was a kindred spirit, and she got what I got. More so, it was, oh my gosh, someone is thinking the way that I'm thinking, and you're actually doing something about it.
Right.
That's what really excited me.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's kind of a thing that's probably the case for a lot of people in the yoga world that I haven't had a chance. I mean, we were so fortunate. Like, you were already coming to the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. I was already doing Flagstaff Yoga Festival radio and like interviewing all of the presenters, and just because I have fun talking, believe it or not. So it's like a radio show is like a great place to put someone like me or Aminda. Actually, Aminda, you should do a radio show. But you know, it's just it was cool because I was doing this radio show, so we got on and we got to blab because we were doing a radio show, so we actually made our talking productive. Aminda, on my end, was one of the few people that just sort of got the value of doing a radio show for reach and promotion, and really actually used her show in a really great way for that platform's benefit, as well as just because it was awesome to talk to each other. So I kind of knew going in there that Aminda, so I started thinking, you kind of get this stuff, and you know what a meta tag is, and she was like, yes, I do, and you know, I was like, oh wow. But it was cool. It was like having long lost friends, I think, because we were comfy talking about the business and the marketing side of ourselves and our passions and our lives as yoga teachers and everything surrounding that. I mean, you know, both of us do kind of different things, right? We both, you know, we're both yoga teachers, but then we're also both like other things like hypnotherapists, and I read cards, and you know, all this other stuff that happens in our lives, and we're kind of into doing that and reaching that out into the world. So really, we see a lot of people wanting to do this passionate thing in their life as outreach, but then this mindset will very often come in where we feel like it's bad or it's unethical or it's just not right or immoral, even if we're actually, you know, putting food on our table while we do that. Yeah. It's like, it's this weird thing, right? And I think we all kind of have, I do, like a little bit of that going on whenever I put my stuff out there into the world for people to buy as a yoga teacher or whatever. We kind of have a lot to talk about there with business and marketing. And so it was very cool for me to find you and go, oh my God, you're totally into talking about tagging and ranking and all of this stuff that usually is just like...
And it's the dual edge. I think what got me super excited was the idea of, one, that you can be in a spiritual, mindful, giving profession, passion, and still be abundant yourself and, you know, I don't know, eat and pay your rent and you know, crazy fun things like that. But also this idea of that we're not competing with each other. Like You've already stated, we're both yoga teachers, but I'm not going to not talk about your awesome archetypes of the body class because it's different than my yoga class. So we can both be abundant together.
Exactly.
And that for me is a huge component
Yeah,
of what
so
got
we
me
started
super
really
excited.
talking about that aspect of like, and conceptually, I think a lot of us are already there. Like, I already know conceptually that a ton of yoga studios and teachers and most of the presenters at Flagstaff Yoga Festival and beyond, like all of those guys, and even other event coordinators like Aubrey and Telluride Yoga Festival and Texas Yoga Retreat and all of these other Bisbee Yoga Expo, that they're no longer doing their thing, but you know, when they were, we were collaborating with each other, even as yoga events. We weren't putting out there, oh, we're in competition with each other. I'm not going to talk about you because someone might not come to my thing. They might come to your thing instead. And that's like this weird thing. And sometimes you do see studios doing that. I don't see it as much in my community, but then I know that I live in a tiny little mountain town, kind of like you do. You know, you're in Colorado, I'm in Flagstaff. We're both on top of little mountains. And so everyone in our town, yeah, we're kind of fortunate because in a small community, you can't burn bridges. You just can't. And everyone's going to be friends.
And you almost have to share the community. Now, I live right on the Colorado River, which is right across from also a railway. So occasionally a train is going to go by, and it's going to go by pretty soon. So if the sound gets a little outrageous, just let me know.
So, it's cool. Yeah, I live in a train town too.
I live here, and I actually love it, but it does sometimes become a conversation stopper. But
that's okay.
I've noticed here that the idea of working together is somehow more palatable because we have such a small community to draw from.
Right.
Whereas
compared to like where
I came up here from Arizona in the larger city,
from like the valley area.
Yeah, it was one of my complaints working in the yoga community. I did not understand the concept of don't mention this other studio because you can't have their energy take away from our energy. And I thought, aren't we yogis?
It's totally weird, but I think like most of the folks, if you are a yoga teacher and you are watching this video, chances are, of course, you're probably in a larger city. I think Aminda and I is sort of the exception to the rule. Like, yeah, totally. What happens in my town is like I know all of the yoga studio teachers personally and studio owners personally. Most of us actually have kids who go to the same school, which is like, that's how, like, so they're friends, they're buddies. And so we've always supported each other because it's like, well, that's my friend. I don't know if it's good for my business or not, but let's go support them anyway because they're my friend. And so, but that's different here. Like the baseline there is different than it is like in a large city, like, you know, in Phoenix or in Los Angeles or in San Francisco or any large city.
Denver. Yeah.
Denver. You have this thing going on where there's like competition clauses and they try to ask teachers going into one studio to never, ever, ever teach at the other studio within a 10-mile radius.
That says that studio's name on it.
It's just nutty. Yeah, and just like you understand why they feel like they need to do that because they're used to sort of working in this red ocean of competitivity. But really what has actually happened in our world is that's not what's happening. In all reality, people who go to Telluride Yoga Festival are probably going to turn right around and come to Flagstaff Yoga Festival if they choose to, and vice versa, you know. And so it makes sense for me to coordinate because it's like, dude, the more we work together, the more they trust all of us and have this rapport with all of us. And like as a teacher in town, you know, my classes are pretty gentle flow. That's kind of my deal. I love Ashtanga, I love Vinyasa, I love power, I also love Yoga Nidra and restorative, and, you know, but, you know, my deal is more like gentle flow. And if I have someone come into my class and go like, oh my God, I thought this was going to be just more like, you know, meditation or more power, and I just really didn't feel like I got a good workout, some people would say, you know, then I totally want to direct them to someone like Dax Parcells, who's like, oh my God, well, he does an amazing Ashtanga class. And, you know, and that referral from me is going to not only be a massive service to that consumer, right, that client who was looking for something and I didn't quite have what they were looking for. So I'm doing them a favor by directing them to like the perfect person who I love with all my heart. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is going to rock your world. Go see him, you know? But then vice versa, like on Dax's end, he's just gotten someone into his, you know, into his class from me. And if he knows that they came from me, then he's going to feel better about me as a friend. And like, oh my God, Laura's so cool. She sent me someone. And then, you know, if he's got like a panda bear in his class, like, you know, who just wants to kind of chill out a little more, he's going to know to send them to me, and he's more likely to do that. Just, it's reciprocity, right? So everyone gives, everyone gives, everyone gives, and it's good, and it's good, and it's better for everyone.
Everyone receives, and then everyone's happy.
Right.
And for me, I think it's extraordinarily important as a yoga teacher, because I think our purpose is to make sure that the people get what they need.
Yeah.
And rather than every teacher trying to be all things to all people, rather than you having a couple students say, oh, I was expecting power class, and you going, oh, maybe I better teach a power class, you focus on what your passion and your gifts are, and you let somebody else focus on theirs. And I love that. For me, it's kind of the old Macy's, was it Miracle on 32nd Street? Is that the street? When Santa Claus comes down and he says, you can buy this cheaper someplace else. And the people at Macy's freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, how could you send them? But now people are going to come back to that store more because they trust them, because they know that you have your best interest at heart.
Right.
And I think that little seed has been in my head even long before I came into yoga. And that's what I would love to see the yoga community embrace.
And so here's the big surprise. We are talking about this, and as a community, sometimes this manifests and it's really groovy and awesome, and sometimes it's just conceptual, and we don't really know how to do this and put food on our table at the same time, or we're worried about referring to each other because, oh my gosh, well, that's a really great idea.
What if they like them better than me? Or
yeah, but the truth is we all have a roof to keep over our heads, and we all have bills to pay, and one day, oh my God, I would actually really love to take a vacation. I like vacations. I love free time. I love having fun. And I know it's totally nuts and crazy, but that's just the reality of it. And I'm sure somewhere, sometime deep in a soul-searching meditation, someone in the yoga community might come to the same conclusion as me. So I'm cool with telling people that I love being lazy because I'm European, so I don't have the whole work ethic thing going on.
That Midwestern work ethic.
I know, and everyone's like, evil European. But yeah, how dare you sit in a hammock? But the truth is, we would love to support each other more. However, there's this thing going on with us too about, cold hard cash, and that is actually okay, guys. It's a reality for us. We all need to make ends meet and maybe thrive financially. How about that?
Because our poverty doesn't serve us or anyone else.
Right.
This idea of the struggling artist or the struggling spiritual person, it has we've created sort of a mythos around it almost. Like it's better if we're poor. It's better. Somehow we can't be spiritual and have money at the same time. And I think there have been plenty of people that have proven that theory wrong.
Right.
And if you have to have an even more spiritual reason than a vacation on the beach, although I don't think there's anything much more spiritual
that's totally
than a
spiritual.
vacation on a beach. But, how many of us would love to have the time to go and offer our services for free?
Right.
I know that there are people out there that are working maybe in prisons or at hospitals, but it's really hard to have the time and the energy and the love to do that when you're teaching 15, 20 classes a week just to make ends meet.
Exactly. And I mean, what you're touching on here is,
over to give,
especially as yoga teachers, it's like we've all kind of chosen our career path. I would say if I talk to any yogis in the world, there's a major lifestyle piece going on with their choice to teach yoga, and that theoretically is freedom, right? Like we're not tied into the whole 9-to-5 thing, and we're all kind of there, and it's like we know we could take off and do something and get a sub and we'd be golden, and that's one of the nice things about it. The other thing is that seva, that bhakti, that service, that dharmic path for us, where we feel like we've really been put on the world to do good, to do service, whatever that service looks like for us. Maybe we're still figuring out parts of that. Maybe some light bulbs have already gone on and we're like, this is why I'm here on the planet. But so often our reason for being on the planet, we don't get to go play with that as often as we would like, because we're just slogging along and we're like, well, I wish I could have time to fulfill my dharma, but I kind of have to go get groceries now.
I gotta pay the rent this week.
Right, exactly. And so it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for us as teachers to try to balance those worlds. Well, the interesting...
And to continue our own education.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a huge frustration for me. I'd love to have a week to go to whatever workshop festival myself.
Oh my gosh.
Between the time and the money, it just doesn't happen very often.
Exactly.
And how do I serve my community if I'm not continually learning?
Exactly. So this was sort of everything that was up in the yoga world that I realized wasn't just me when I started the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. And my deal with the Flagstaff Yoga Festival has always been, hey, let's get a bunch of cool teachers together, and let's not even deal with the rock stars because they already have their events. Let's just
Indie
do
rock.
yeah, exactly. And we're just going to go have a big party together, and it'll be awesome. It's also awesome from a business point of view to start working that way. There's like this awesome book I just saw in the store, by the way, Aminda, and I totally haven't read it yet, and I need to get it. It's called Grateful Dead Marketing, or like how the Grateful Dead. Have you read that yet?
No, but we did see. Who was I talking to about? Yeah, I saw the name of it, and I thought, well, that suits me just perfectly.
I'm going to totally pick it up, and I'm going to have a look at it because it seems very.
Tie-dye shirt. Yes.
Yeah, it's like I really think that there's something in just even that concept that is really very, very similar to what we did at Flagstaff Yoga Festival, which was let's have a big party. It's really about the community coming together. We're more as a community than we are as this one little individual island out here. If we can pool together and support the entire community, we become bigger than ourselves, and our potential gets larger than ourselves. And so that has always been kind of the heart intention behind Flagstaff Yoga Festival. It's just to go have a big party with each other, and everyone will be doing better because we had a big party together. On a very kind of physical note, it looks like this. It's like, well, Aminda comes to the festival. She's one of 54 presenters, right? And I'm another. So there's like 2 of 54 here. We all go, so excited about the festival, and we're telling everyone we know about the festival and how we're presenting, and they should come, and it's going to be a great party. But we've got 54 other people doing that. We've basically just crowdsourced this regional community and got them all together. So it's like that referral to Dax, the Ashtanga teacher, and Aminda, the hypno-restorative teacher, becomes so much more productive for us all because we're all there. And we know that all of our friends are going to go and check out the schedule and go to whatever is most appealing for them. And it's like they're kind of like shopping for yoga teachers. Right. And we get to be in the big shopping mall party with them. And it feels more like a Grateful Dead concert to me. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's cool. It's crowdsourcing. It was
more like the Grateful Dead concert.
Yeah. But from like an information marketer or an internet marketer's point of view, which is my my alter ego, this is crowdsourcing. This is crowdsourcing 101, a big festival party coming together.
And there is something to be said for, I know, like myself, there were teachers that I might not have chosen to go seek out or find or experience had I not been part of that sort of group that we put together. And then the people that came to my class, that may have come up because they knew you or they knew so-and-so, and then they found this, and this was a completely different style. And nobody lost a student. We just gained other students, and now we're all sharing the whole thing.
The pie just got bigger.
I just thought it was a great experience. I mean, well, you already know that. I just had such a great time.
It totally works.
Right.
But here's the thing. It's like, for me as an event director, this is where it becomes very interesting because, like, you talk to the Flagstaff Yoga Festival alumni, and or the faculty and the adjunct faculty and alumni of the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and they all have these amazing stories, and you see these amazing pictures of all of these teachers goofing off on the lawn, like, hula hooping and giggling and just having a great time together. Great event. But the reality for me is I brought 1,000 people into this event in the course of like the year's promotional period, but I don't have a marketing budget, just so you guys know. So I've had a lot of people go like,
possible?
How can you do that you didn't place any ads, you didn't create any fancy flyers? Yeah, because I'm using a different marketing model that for me has always appealed to me more than sort of the standard go get an ad in Yoga Journal kind of model, because it's more about people, connecting people, referring other people. And that marketing model, believe it or not, well, at first, you guys will hear me, you got to brace yourself for this, because it's like, these are like the evil buzzwords that people are just going to like switch off when they hear this.
Marketing!
But it's like, well, but it's more than that. It's like, it's internet marketing, guys.
Ugh.
I know. That's what made this work. And the thing is, like, I'm not an internet marketing genius by any means. I'm an English major, right? Like, I don't know the first thing about PHP code. I don't even know what PHP stands for,
Thank goodness, because neither do I.
No, me neither. But I guess I use it sometimes because there's these cool plugins that make that possible. But it's like this whole world of marketing a festival in a different way that doesn't require massive media buys and stuff is really weird. And like people from Scottsdale Yoga have been talking to me and going like, how did you get all those people? Why did this work? Because we spent a couple of $100,000 on our promotions, and we have like this venture capitalist, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Like this is so easy, you know. But so what I've been doing for like the last 2 or 3 years is literally like having conversations with Aminda and other friends. But I'll literally, if you give me half a chance, I would love to just sit in a coffee shop for the rest of the year, just blabbing about marketing strategy with people and just turning their marketing worlds upside down and just lighting them up. And
She's not kidding.
Sorry?
She's not kidding.
I'm not. Like, this is really, like, I was just telling Aminda, I'm like, oh my God, I dreamed about this awesome thing for you to do last night, and we've got it, and she's like, oh my God, I had that dream too. But it's like, my dream was totally about marketing Aminda. It's like, this is what I live, eat, breathe. And I don't consider myself an evil person for doing it, wildly enough. This is just my joy and my passion. And it's so easy. Like literally I could talk to people over coffee about this all year, and it just totally lights me up to do it and energizes me. And by the way, guys, when you have found like one of your callings in life, I would say that's a big thing. It's like, do you find that when you're actually doing that calling that it's energizing you and lighting you up, or is it draining you? And for me, that's a huge clue as to whether I'm on the right track or not, I don't know about anyone else, but that's just sort of an aside. But anyway, so I started doing this, and consequently what started happening over the last 2 or 3 years is people started asking me to like build websites for them, or, well, what is this email management thing? Can you set that up for me? Or can you walk my hand through all of this stuff? And I did that for a while, and that was pretty fun. But what ended up happening is I was kind of spending my entire life doing the same sort of thing. If I was teaching everyone in the world how to design their website themselves in like 2 hours on like $100 rather than $5,000 spent on like a designer who doesn't get their marketing, that was really cool, and it was life-changing. It saved all the friends that I got to do that with like $5,000, and got them a better result anyway, and it was really fun. But essentially, I was doing the same lesson for each of those friends over and over and over and over again. So it started sort of losing my interest, just because for me, it wasn't so interesting anymore. But for them, it was like lighting their worlds up. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like 20 things like this that I do with everyone, and it's the same thing. Maybe I should run a seminar about this and just train the entire community up at one time and get us all on the same page. And just so, I think we should backtrack before we talk about the seminar and about that training a little bit, Aminda, because what people are probably wondering right now is like, what the hell does web page design have to do with a Grateful Dead festival? And they're just like trying to connect these dots, and I apologize.
I didn't even think about that because
you're already there.
Together, those dots are connected for me.
But they're not for everyone else.
You're absolutely right, is that when you talk about it, I see it in terms of the linear procession of how we got from A to C.
Right, and that's the thing. We have that context.
So
yeah, so
give it a little more context about how being able to design your own website, opt-in boxes, those kind of things. But
why the heck would you want to do that in the first place? Why on earth do you want to talk about website design? I thought we were talking about Grateful Dead concerts and stuff. Okay, so and don't let the website thing intimidate you guys. It's like it will all be revealed. All is coming. Practice and all is coming, as Patapi Joyce would say. So here's the deal: when you are working outside of the Yoga Journal, advertise your thing framework, and you want to create another framework for business to grow your business, what's the alternative to placing big shiny glossy ads that you don't know if they'll work or not, and you feel like you've got to be like beautiful and lose 20 pounds before you get in there and like gain all this flexibility to go into the perfect little foofy back bend shot of you on a beach, and you better get to the beach first, because it's like that whole thing, but basically you do where you're like doing a shiny glossy ad or a flyer. It sets up a couple of triggers for a lot of people. One is like, oh my God, that's expensive. Well, someday maybe when I can afford it, we'll actually advertise my business, which is kind of back-ass words when you think about it.
How are you going to make the money if you don't have it?
It's just weird on that way. But the other way that it's really weird is because it's like the perfect ad or the perfect flyer or the perfect brochure that we're being told to create. we feel like we have to be perfect in that or on that or whatever. And it's like the reality is, guys, the more you put yourself across as like this perfect person with no flaws, which is what we've been told to do in academics too, like my background in academics, I better have the perfect resume or a CV, and you know, it better have all of these very impressive accolades on there and certifications and all of this stuff. When it comes down to it, when I actually do something that I like to do for money, it's because someone has resonated with me as a person. And I will guarantee you that nobody is coming to your class because you're beautiful. Okay, that's just the reality. It's like, I might think I'm beautiful, but that's not why people are coming to my class. They're coming to my class because I serve them, because I've done something for them. It's when you're putting yourself out there into the world, it's not about you. It's not about how beautiful you look in your back bend on the beach. It's about whether you served the person or not. You know, and so I look at this from a marketer's point of view, and that glossy ad is like the worst thing you could do for your business, because when someone sees this beautiful, polished, airbrushed whoever in a picture and they're being told, come see the superstar at their new thing, basically they're being really turned off for the most part. Like, what is actually happening there is they're going, oh, that person's nothing like me.
It's too far from my reality. Yeah.
It's too far. That's not for me, you know, because the first thing that the consumer will do in any business is they'll basically, you know, the inner critic will kick in, and it'll go basically find an objection in this head for why you can't do this. And
every yoga teacher's heard it. I'm not flexible enough.
I'm not flexible enough. What? Well, maybe it's because they've been shown pictures of like uber flexible Gumby anorexic models, right? And that's their perception of, you know, and we all know this, we all get this, and there's a million examples of this, you know, people coming to, like, you know, my business trainings and things. It's like, oh, well, I can't afford that, or I've got something else that I've been told I might do that weekend, so I don't know, I don't want to make a commitment yet, you know. And as a marketer, whether you're doing a yoga thing or a marketing summit, or, you know, you're teaching a class in anything, the number one thing that you have to do as the marketer in there is overcome all those objections. Oh, there's other stuff going on this weekend, I don't know. Well, I don't know if I'm going to have that money in my bank account. I would have to pay on credit card. Oh, you don't have credit cards set up? Okay, I can't come. They'll find an objection. And so one of the main things that you do as a marketer is you think about what these projections will probably be coming in, like you predict the objections, which we can all do, by the way, because we've all heard them. And then you go answer those, you know, objections. We basically, our job as marketers is to remove the objections, remove the obstacles. We've got to be Ganesha for these guys, right? And remove the obstacles from them getting to our stuff in the first place. Ganesha isn't the most attractive person in the world, but he's a darn good remover of obstacles. We all love him. Okay, and for that reason, it's like, yeah, we've got to look at this. So, like, I'm really feeling like Ganesha behind me right now, and, like, it's just, like, this huge thing. Like, my thing, specifically with spirituality and wellness and healing arts practitioners like ourselves, is to remove the obstacles for us from going after our dharma. Okay, so one of the parts that I'm actually looking at to remove an obstacle for us is this whole obstacle of how to actually get the word out about our stuff into the world. That's number one. So I have a whole other ball game to play that is not put a glossy ad in, you know, Yoga Journal, or put flyers all around town. There's another great one. Let's put 300 flyers around town and ask everyone in town personally to come to the next workshop we're putting on. Yeah, that works like a charm, you know. God. But it's like, no, there's a better way of doing that. And what is the alternative there? Well, think about it from your own life. If you had like 5 potential parties to go to on Saturday, and one's a pool party with the kids, but it's in a house where, you know, there's just been sort of a divorce, and, you know, everything's always, you know, kind of weird. And then there's another party you just got invited to, but that woman always ends up talking about her perfect hair or boobs or something, and you just feel like uncomfortable around her because she's not like you. And then there's a party in another house that's just like, oh my God, that house always has like a dog in it that jumps up on my kid and scares my kid. And then there's another house that's just like your house. Which party are you going to go to? You're going to go to the one that you're most comfortable in. Well, what that usually looks like, how do you know that you're most comfortable with that person to begin with? You've got to have actually vibed with them, maybe been in their house a couple of times with them, know what you're getting into a little bit. In marketing, we call that building a rapport and a trust with your prospect. It's the same deal. It's the same
and part
thing.
of that too is if you don't have direct contact with them, then a friend who you really trust. If your friend says, like I'm sitting here, and like I said, some of you know me, you've talked to me, and if I'm telling you, hey, Laura Brown has done some amazing things for me, there's that little piece in you that I know because I've been there that says, well, if Aminda thinks she's pretty cool, she's probably pretty cool.
Because I like Aminda.
That's what this whole thing is about, is building that rapport either directly or via this vehicle of sharing what we already know about each other.
Right, exactly.
And that's idea of sending someone to, in your previous example with sending someone to another yogi's class. This person loves you and trusts you. They're going to go try out that class because of their trust of you.
Exactly.
And I just think that's a beautiful model.
Exactly. So here's the deal. That's kind of what we're working with. That's what we already know works, right? If we're going to go to a party, or we're going to go to a yoga workshop, or we're going to go to a retreat, or we're going to go to a training, it's usually because we already have a rapport, or we've gotten a hit that this person feels good to us, or someone that we really trust has said, hey, check this person out. Like when I'm going, next time I'm in Colorado and I'm in Aminda's neck of the woods, which will be soon, by the way, because my brother's there until, he's in Boulder until March, and then he moves to Houston, so I got to get up there.
You better get up here before that.
I know, I better get up there. But when I'm there, do you think, I might be there going to Aminda like, hey, while I'm up here, where are the coolest teachers that you would say, like, I've got kind of this shoulder thing. Who do you think would be good to work on them with them? And her referrals, she's like my tour guide into that neck of the woods, right? She really is. Well, the same thing happens in person now. In our 3D interactions. If you think of sort of the online world as sort of an extension of our social selves, this all begins to make sense. Because, how many of you guys know yoga teachers and yoga students who live somewhere different than you? Right? I know a few yoga teachers and students and friends who would like to play with the idea of, taking a yoga class one day and maybe coming to some workshops and retreats that don't live in Flagstaff. I always get calls from my friends in Austin. I've got like a huge friend circle in Austin because I went to high school in San Antonio, and then all the San Antonians, because they're sensible people, they move up to Austin when they can. And so I've got all these Austin contacts, and they're all talking to me all the time. Hey, Laura, I want to get into yoga. Where do you think I should start? And I'm there going like, geez, I wish I had more like of a knowledge of the studios in Austin so I could like refer these guys places. Well, check it out. We can go a step further from that. What if what I was already doing, and when I referred my friend Candace in Austin to, she wants to check out Kundalini Yoga, and I have like an awesome Kundalini Yoga workshop or DVD or something for her to check out that she can do from where she's at. If I were actually to make that referral and then actually make a commission on Candace like going or checking that out or buying that DVD, would that sort of potentially change a lot?
Well, certainly add another dimension, wouldn't it?
It would. And so, I've got like all of these people all over the planet, really, who are always asking me for who should I go see. And, maybe I'm here going, oh yeah, I just do this because I do. It's like, this is what I talk about with my friends. But what if I could actually like earn a stream of income by doing that? And what if like I reached out to my circle to flip the idea here and said, hey, Aminda, I'm doing this awesome workshop in Los Angeles next week. Could you just pop like an email out to people to tell them about it? And Aminda's going to be like, sure. And then like 10 people from Aminda's circle roll into my workshop and show up. And I'm like, hey, Aminda sent all these people. I'm going to mail her a commission check. And so Aminda just like randomly gets a check in the mail. What if Aminda had like, 50 people just like me who were doing that for her, and we were all doing that for each other? Reciprocity is a cool thing. Supporting each other's studios is a cool thing. The potential online right now is you can monetize what you already do socially. You're already being cool and sharing information with each other. But there's a whole part of what's coming up for us as just social beings online. There's this massive potential to actually earn streams of income while we do that in a cool way, not a slimy way. And all it really takes is a little knowledge on our part of like, if I'm going to refer someone to Aminda's studio, I want to know that when they hit that website, they do actually get served, you know? So in other words, like if I'm going to send people like, hey, you're going to Glenwood Springs next week, check out what Aminda's doing. And I send them like a web link, right? Then what happens there is I need to know that when they hit that website isn't like dead or down or really hard to navigate. Or, you know, I want to know that when I send someone there, they're going to go like, oh my God, I get it. Look, she's got a class right then. And how do I pay? Oh, there's where I pay. Okay, good, done. I'll be there. We've got to make it easy for the consumer. We've got to override their objections and get them in your doors. And that's number one. But then when you're asking people to refer for you, you have to realize that those are my friends coming in to your circle, right? So I need to keep looking kind of good for my friends, right? I'm not going to send them to a crappy restaurant if I know it's crappy, you know. Even if it looks crappy at the outset, there's a lot that you need to do there. Like if you're sending out someone like to sushi, what's the best sushi in Flagstaff, Laura? Well, it's in this place, but it's right next to, it's in this really funky strip mall, so just be aware. But when you actually get in there, I promise you, you will love it. Well, sometimes your friends will trust you on that, and sometimes they will go like, it just looks sketchy when I just dropped by, Laura. I'm sorry. I just went to the nice looking place downtown. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. I would too if I was new in town and I didn't know, you know. So like we have to do the same thing with your web presence. Like if we as people somewhere else on the planet are going to refer to you in Glenwood Springs or wherever you are with trains and awesomeness going on, then it's just like we need to make you look as good as we can. Not in like a here's the beautiful back bend shot, but just a user-friendly experience that serves the consumer, you know? So because the potential is there, and it is, by the way, this is what we teach you guys when you come to like Successful Spirit Summit, is how to like, I have a motorbike on my street. That was cool.
Trains and motorbikes. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yes. .com. So yeah. So you know, we can now refer to each other. There's software that I can teach you very quickly how to use, and the concept behind that.
Even if you don't like to use software, even if the word gives you the heebie-jeebies, it's very quick.
It's pretty easy, especially if you get your handheld every step of the way. From like, here's where we buy your domain name. Here's how to do this. And you have like resources and you can follow my cursor on a screen on an online tutorial every step of the way to do every little thing in there yourself. You'll get it. And you'll get it pretty dang quickly.
And Laura, I think an important part of that too is I know some of you already have a web presence of some sort. Maybe you're on Facebook. Maybe you have Constant Contact already. Maybe you have a web page. But I know where I was when I came to work with Laura was I have all these things. I mean, I had everything any person would need to have a successful business, and yet I was still struggling because I had every component, but I wasn't working them together, and I didn't have this shared paradigm of we're all helping each other, the lift as we climb, as Dawn would say.
Right. Hi, Dawn.
Without that, they were all just, gotta throw a shout out to some of the Omis, right?
Exactly.
There were all these components that I didn't know how to work. And quite honestly, Laura, because I was in a, if you're in marketing, kill yourself kind of mindset, you know, to quote Bill Hicks, it was the evil, nasty sales portion that I just couldn't quite get past, feeling like I wasn't being slimy or gross or whatever. And that, even though I already had some of the technical components, that was the part. So that I think that's what I love the most about the help is that it's the
everyone's going to be like on that path somewhere at some point, whether they're just starting out or they kind of have some things going on, but they don't really know how it all comes together, or they haven't had the right intention and heart thrown at them where they can see how to build that into the model that they're using, or they don't actually want to look at the sales part because that's just like, ugh. And like to bring all of that together, I mean, the analogy that I use here, because I work with archetypes and mythology a lot in my yoga, I love to sort of go into sort of hero's journey kind of analogy here for you guys. So just so you know, like basically of the land and the hero's journey, right? You're kind of, you're born into like a new experience or a new world, or, you know, and then you have like your parents set come in and like give you lessons from above that you just kind of ingest as like the child in that situation. And you go through that that nuclear part of the journey, the nuclear family part of the journey. And then you go out and you learn something for yourself that's different. And then you get inspired, you get a vision, you get a sense of what your dharma is, and you go off into the world and you go to try to like implement all of that, right? So very often, like as yoga teachers, we come onto the planet, maybe we have a car accident, or maybe our parents were yoga teachers. We've been doing this since we were 2 years old. Or, you know, whatever our journey to yoga is, that's like the first part of the hero's journey for us as teachers. And then we get inspired to go do our teacher training program, and we go do that, and then we come back and we're like, yay, I'm going to go do this in the world. And then everything does whatever it does for you from there. Whether you become a studio owner or a yoga teacher, you teach 2 classes and hate it, you teach 1 class and 50 people come and you don't know what to do with all of that. I don't know where all these people came from. Wow, I did something right. And everyone's like, what did you do? And you're like, I don't know. But, you know, you're kind of on that next stage of the journey now. So whether that has already been for you, oh yeah, I have a website and it's kind of weird, and what's this ranking thing that you're talking about? How do I get visible? Or whether you already place ads for your studio and you've got that advertising thing going on, or whether you're already ranking for like, you know, Denver yoga or whatever your like massive keyword search would be that you want to like start showing up for, or whether you've already got yoga journal to promote you or not. The thing that then happens is like, what do you have to actually make that piece really work for you? Okay, so like even when you're there, I mean, I think what I started talking about with Aminda was like, well, so you have a web presence and you have a Facebook page and you have an offer, but like who else is referring for you? Like who else is telling people? Like you need to kind of back this up with the social proof element that we were talking about earlier, right? And then how do you actually like build out from there? Like, so one thing that then I find a lot of yoga teachers are in this boat. They're teaching 15 classes a week or 10 classes. So they feel like they might need to add a couple more classes to make ends meet, even because they've got all those pieces, but it's not really enough. And I'm there going, wait, you've got a website and you're doing one thing, basically. Don't you realize that the internet is infinite? It's the infinite, okay? So, like, yeah, I've been using the infinite a lot recently. We can do a lot on that website and just work in other little streams of information, builders, stuff going on to like bring people in to your world. That's one way that we can build it out on multiple levels. And another way we can build it out on multiple levels is with income. So if you have a website, my next question for people is, oh, so you've built an email list then? And they're like, what's an email list? Like, well, you want to kind of keep in touch with everyone, and Facebook's one way to do that, but you know as well as I do, Facebook's changing all the time. People may or may not see your posts and feeds. They might be getting 50 million event invitations a day. So really, creating an event invitation for your next workshop, guys, how's that working for you? If it's working great, then great. But if it's not, then let's revisit how you're using Facebook. Maybe there's a different way to use that we might want to talk to you about, okay? Because, you know, sending out 400 invites for everyone to come to your workshop, guess how many other yoga teachers are doing that too? All of them.
And how many of your 400 contacts are actually people that's what they want to go to?
Right. You know, did you even listen to what they wanted in the first place?
And even if they all are, what's the percentage that are...
Yeah, what's your conversion rate there, in my point of view? And so if it's not working optimally, here's the thing that I find. The mindset for most people who don't have like the big concept of everything that's possible is, oh my God, I just need to create more workshops and invite more people. Maybe I just need more Facebook friends. I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks of my life getting to 5,000 friends and then I'll invite them all to everything. That's bound to... No, it won't. That's not the way to do it. And all we're doing here on the consumer's end is basically like they get flooded with like 50 different invites a day and they ignore them all. Guess what? They ignore them all. They're not listening.
Because it's overwhelmed.
You're on the wrong platform. You send them an email about what you're doing and you segment that email out to just the people who you know are more likely to come, then your conversion rate goes up, right? But it's like to have that set up is kind of cool. But what about all of the emails that you collect, even when you have like an email box on your site and you're like, hey, stay in touch and we'll email you all of the specials and promotions and discounts and coupons and all this cool stuff about our studio so you'll be in the loop every month. And they actually say, yes, I will give you my email because that's appropriate for me. and they get on your email list. Okay, we teach you how to do all of that at the summit and on the online trainings. But let's say you have that in place, and you're still only emailing about your stuff. Okay, massive income opportunity lost right there. You've already built the list. If you have 500 people, let's say this. Let's say I have 500 contacts from my yoga studio, and Aminda has 500 from hers. And April has 500 from hers. By the way, guys, I'm listing people who've already gone through this training now, who get this, who do this.
And are fantastic, and you will love them.
And Chris does this, and Amber does this, and Dawn is doing this with her business. And then there's people in Tucson, you know, Alexandra Spellman, who's like totally doing this with her business, which is complementary. And then we've got Radha Crawley and Erin, you know, we have like 10 people who end up doing this.
And we're talking all over, too. You're talking in New Mexico, in Sedona, in California, in all these various places.
Yeah. So let's just say...
And not just yogis either. Body workers, Ayurveda.
Body workers, all the complementary fields, healing art, spirituality and wellness practitioners. Let's say we have 10 of them. Actually, we have double that right now in our group.
I know, I'm excited.
But let's say we only have 10.